Hi there, freelance friends. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Always nice to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about something that I think is exciting. It's Copilot Agent Mode in Excel. And I really do feel like this is the future of spreadsheet work. And if you're a freelancer and you haven't used this yet, I think that the demo that I'm going to show you is going to blow you away. Now, you all know that Microsoft has been steadily integrating AI into its Office suite, but Agent Mode in Excel represents something different from what they had, something that's a little bit more ambitious. This isn't just an assistant that answers questions or generates formulas. Agent Mode uses Anthropic, and it's designed to handle complex multi-step tasks autonomously. Yeah, I know. Isn't that awesome? I do believe that you will have a transformational experience in Excel, that it will transform from a tool that you operate into an intelligent collaborator that can work independently on your behalf. So if you've been using standard Copilot in Excel for a little while, then I do think that Agent Mode is going to feel like a significant leap forward. So let me show you what makes it special. So what is this Agent Mode? Well, traditional Copilot in Excel works reactively. You ask it to create a formula, analyze data, or generate a chart, and it responds to that specific request. Agent Mode, however, is proactive and autonomous. It allows you to give it a goal or an objective, and then it figures out the steps needed to achieve it and executes those steps without requiring any intervention from you, which is really amazing. I had a jaw-dropping experience the first time that I used it. So think of it this way. Regular Copilot is like having an assistant who waits for instructions. Agent Mode is like having a colleague who understands the projects and can just run with it. So the key difference is how you interact with it. Instead of breaking down your task into individual prompts like you would with the app skills component of Copilot, you will describe what you're trying to accomplish, and Agent Mode will plan and execute the entire workflow. So let's look at a real world example. Let's look at a sales report automation, something that we commonly would want to do as freelancers, right? So I have this fictitious sheet of financial transactions here, and I intend to transform it into a polished report for my team. So normally this involves multiple steps. I have to clean the data, I have to calculate the metrics, I have to create the visualizations, format everything consistently, and then add summary insights. Well, let's try it with Copilot. I am going to enter a prompt that says, I need to prepare this sales data for presentation. Clean up any inconsistencies, calculate total sales by region and product category, create appropriate visualizations, and format everything professionally. Also, flag any unusual trends of outliers that I should be aware of. And that's it. One prompt. I'm going to let it run. Now here I did speed up the results because you'll find that because Agent Mode is often doing so many steps, it does take a little longer to run. That's the only disadvantage, but it's not really a disadvantage because I just do something else while it's running. Now we have the results. Look at that. Isn't it amazing? Look at the depth of information that it was able to provide. Even though it took a few minutes to process, you can definitely say that it would have taken you longer. And you can see that by clicking on any of the cells, you can actually see the formula that Excel used in conjunction with Copilot to calculate these results. So truly amazing. I highly recommend it. So I want to call out the process that Agent Mode took and what it did to automatically tackle that task. First, it cleaned the data. It identified and corrected formatting inconsistencies in the data. In the date column, it removed duplicate entries, and it just standardized things that had any slight variations. You can see that it produced a clean data sheet. Then it did some calculations. It created new columns for regional totals and category breakdowns using appropriate formulas that automatically referenced the correct ranges. Third, it did a great analysis. It generated a separate sheet with the top performers. It sorted and ranked by sales volume and created percentage growth calculations compared to the previous month. And then it built great visualizations. So it built various charts. I can see that we had a column chart comparing different performance, a pie chart showing product category distribution, and a line graph showing sales trends over time. These are also editable if you'd like to edit them further yourself. One of the things that I like most about what Agent Mode and Copilot does is the formatting. It applied consistent formatting, very professional looking with clear headers, appropriate number formats for currency, and it organized everything into a logical layout. And then the insights that it gave me really do help me. It really provided me with key observations that I didn't have to take a lot of time to uncover myself, although I can validate that they are accurate. And the whole process took 4 or 5 minutes. If I had done this manually, or even with regular Copilot requiring the step-by-step prompts, it would have easily taken me 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. So what makes Agent Mode different? Well, it does have contextual understanding. It doesn't just execute commands. It understands the broader context of what you're trying to achieve. When I asked it for a professional format, for instance, it knows that that meant consistent fonts, appropriate color schemes, and clear visual hierarchies, not just making cells bold. And I didn't need to spell all of that out. It just knew. As you saw, it's also able to do multi-step planning. So Agent Mode can break down complex objectives into subtasks and execute them in the right order. It knows how to do the data cleaning that needs to happen before it does the calculations, so that therefore the calculations are accurate. And obviously, the visualizations are dependent on this clean data with accurate calculations also. Next, it makes autonomous decision making. With the parameters that you set, it makes the judgment calls. When creating visualizations, it chose the chart types that make sense for the data without me specifying column chart or bar chart or scatter plot. Now, there are instances, of course, where you may prefer to choose the visualization that you'd like, but there are other times where obviously it may be appropriate just to have Copilot decide for you. And then there's error detection and correction. If Agent Mode encounters issues as it's working, like formulas that reference incorrect ranges or data that doesn't fit the expected patterns, it has the ability to identify and fix them rather than just reporting an error and stopping, like many of us have experienced before. Last, you can have an iterative refinement. You can review what Agent Mode has done and ask it to adjust if you'd like. So even though you're not interactive during the process, you don't have to fully accept what Copilot has given you on the first round. You can definitely ask it to make the charts more colorful or reorganize this so that the insights are at the top. Whatever you prefer, you can give those follow-up instructions and Copilot will understand what you're referring to in what it just created. So when do you use Agent Mode versus the traditional way of using Copilot in Excel? I feel like that's a really good question. And in my opinion, Agent Mode shines in situations where you have a clear end goal, but the path to get there involves multiple steps. So some ideal use cases when you have to do report generation. Why? Because it can transform raw data into presentation-ready reports, as we just saw. Also, data reconciliation. If you have to compare data sets, identify discrepancies, and create summary reports, Agent Mode is very helpful. When you need to create a dashboard, I've done this. It's done a great job at building a comprehensive dashboard with multiple metrics and visualizations. And I mean, it is also helpful for routine analysis. If you need to do a monthly or a quarterly analysis that follows similar patterns but requires customization, I do feel like Agent Mode does definitely fit the bill. And then, of course, there's the old data preparation because it helps to take that messy data and get it ready for the analysis that it's going to do. Or in the case that maybe you just want to clean the messy data and get it ready to import into another system that you use. So Copilot can be less useful for exploratory work, but you can see that it does shine in so many other circumstances. So we'll end with the tips for getting the most out of Agent Mode. So I've used Agent Mode for a little while now since it's become available, and these are my recommendations. First, really be clear about the outcome. Instead of describing the steps, describe what your successful outcome looks like. I need a budget forecast works better than create formulas in column D. You also want to provide context. If there are any constraints or preferences, mention them up front. So say things like, this is for a board presentation, so keep it high level, or I need to match our company brand colors. Of course, reviewing and iterating is extremely important. Agent Mode is powerful, but it's not perfect. So check its work and refine it with follow-up instructions. It's still going to be faster, even if you have to make adjustments, than it would be to do everything manually. Next, make sure you're starting with the right data. Agent Mode is great at organizing and analyzing data, but if your source data is fundamentally flawed in a way that even Agent Mode can't easily clean, then you're going to get flawed results. That whole garbage in, garbage out still applies, even though you're using this amazing AI technology. Next and last, when you find a good prompt, save it. It will help you with recurring tasks. So I'd suggest building a library of effective Agent Mode prompts, just like you would create a library of bookmarks for websites that you commonly visit to help you out. So Agent Mode definitely represents a shift in how we think about productivity software. Instead of tools that require us to know and execute every step like Excel has done for the last few decades, we're moving towards tools like this one that understand our goals and figure out the implementation details as we go. This doesn't make Excel expertise obsolete though. And I do want to point that out as someone who's been teaching Excel for a long time. You still need to understand what good analysis looks like and how to guide agent mode toward the right outcomes. But I can say that it frees me from the tedious mechanics of executing all of these analysis formulas and functions. It lets me focus on higher level thinking and what questions I should be asking about the data, what insights about the data matter, and how this information could be communicated. So, for anyone who works with spreadsheets regularly, agent mode is going to definitely be worth exploring within Excel. It's not perfect, and there's still a learning curve in figuring out how to communicate with the AI agent. But when it works, like you saw that it did in this example, it feels less like using software and more like having an incredibly efficient colleague who never gets tired of formatting Excel cells. That's the future of our productivity tools. And in Excel, it's already here. Thanks so much for listening. Please like and subscribe if this was helpful to you. It will really help the channel. I'll be back with another video soon. Thank you and take care. Bye.